Just trying to figure out if my husband is normal. He is 52. Story 10. We text on and off, maybe play video games online once a month, and see each other every few months. Story 2. These answers are disappointing. It has nothing to do with marriage, in my opinion. Before marriage, we probably did something 1 to 3 times per week. Golf, beers, softball, dinner party, or cookout. Often solo, but many times with the women who also get along. Now with children, it is a different story. Probably once a month or two we get a solid bro hangout. Several times a month we do something with our wives and kids tagging along. But it is not the same at all. Story 3. I cannot be bothered to do the math using nights or times per week as the unit of measurement, but maybe once or twice per year. Story 4. I am not married, but I can speak for my married friend. Let us see on average if my calculations are correct. Just double-checking the numbers. I guess about 0. Story 5. Forget times per week. I would like once a month, if that. I wonder if I even have the time and energy to do that 1 time a month, though with a young child and a newborn recently. Story 6. Divorced for 5 years. I lost friends trying to please a miserable person. Now that I am single but in a relationship, I go to happy hour once or twice a month during the winter. In the summer, none, as they are all married with kids. Story 7. By the time I was in my 40s onward, basically none. I focused on my wife and family and lost all my friends. Most men I know and have tried to make friends with do the same. Since nobody seems to go out with friends, it is pretty hard to develop any real friendship. Story 8. I once worked with a colleague for 3 years and never learned his name. He was the best friend I ever had. Sometimes we still do not talk. Story 9. Let me solve it for you. Your husband is normal. Frequency of hanging out with friends has nothing to do with being normal or not. Story 10. I get together with a friend on Tuesdays for television time. Then usually one more night with other friends to watch a fight, build something, or grill. So twice a week. I am in my early 30s. Story 11. When we were first married over 25 years ago, I would see my friends about twice a week, whether I was hosting card night or they were. Now I mainly see 1 or 2 of them once every couple of weeks or months. I am okay with it. She is my best friend. Story 12. Recently divorced. Never, and it was a huge mistake. Love your ladies and lads, but love yourself too. Story 13. I am 37 years old now. Before I had children, when I was under 32, I went out about 2 to 3 times a month. After having children, I went out no more than 5 times a year. I think it depends on the individual's available time. Story 14. Twice a week at beer league hockey, then weekly at the community pool with fathers or at someone's house. I have really learned, after the baby fog is past, to connect with other parents through kids' sports, classes, or the neighborhood. Story 15. I haven't had a night out with the guys in more than 20 years. I don't think I could get 6 people together to carry me out when I die. But I have a wife I love. Story 16. My friend is married. He probably sees our friends more than I do. They are all married, so they regularly participate in couples activities. Story 17. Mostly 0. It's a few times a year. If I'm in a vibe, I might play Magic, the Gathering 1 night a week. I go through times of gaming a bunch with friends, but mostly Discord. Story 18. I may see them in person once a year in total. However, 3 to 4 nights a week after my wife goes to bed, I will hop on Discord and play games or just chat with them. It is a large Discord group with probably 15 of us, so you may not talk to the same people every night. Story 19. Not counting the parents of children's friends, I have a few small friend groups. I see them each 1 to 3 times a year. Story 20. They are all married, mostly with children, and my best friends do not live near me anymore. I would say a couple of times a year. Story 21. When my best friend lived in the same city, we are both in our 30s. For years, we would hang out several times a week after work. We worked out together, went for runs, lifted weights, and occasionally grabbed a drink or hung out on weekends when we were free. He moved away about a year ago and now lives a couple of hours away. We tried to see each other every month or 2 in person, catching up for a few hours when time allowed. Then his girlfriend and fiancé, who I used to be friends with, started becoming abrasive, rude, and disrespectful. She always had a difficult personality and didn't have many friends because of it, but she started getting worse. Probably due to the stress of working from home for the government, living in an unfinished house undergoing renovation, and dealing with financial difficulties. She began lashing out at everyone, their friends, family, and coworkers. She became petty, unpleasant, judgmental, ungrateful, rude, argumentative, and cut ties with the few mutual friends they had. A few months ago, she insulted my partner, who had recently been diagnosed with colon cancer. This caused an argument between us. My friend confronted her about her poor behavior, and they had a big fight. She was furious that he didn't take her side. In the weeks that followed, she doubled down and cut me off as a friend instead of apologizing. She is one of those people who refuses to admit fault or apologize. She also pressured my best friend to distance himself from me. She made it clear that I was no longer welcome when they were in town or at their home. What used to be automatic, spending birthdays and holidays together, ended abruptly. My friend didn't know how to handle it. He couldn't make her change her mind and relies on her financially while trying to finish the house. He is terrible at conflict and generally avoids it, and he started shutting down. He apologized for his part, but it didn't change anything. These days, if I'm lucky, I might get a couple of text messages every few weeks from him. The friendship is pretty much destroyed. We'll rent a cottage for a weekend over the summer and see each other with some mutual friends, but it has to be in neutral spaces where we can hang out and catch up occasionally. Or maybe when his future wife visits her family for a week, he'll call me and we'll talk. But that's not much of a friendship anymore. Keep your friends, everyone. Try your best to hold on to them. It's hard to make new close friends as we get older. Story 22. Once a month, perhaps. Monday to Friday, I follow a set routine. Work, home, dinner, workout, study, or relax and sleep. Then once a month, I visit a friend where we drink, watch a movie, talk, listen to some music, and just chill. Story 23. Do not get married if you want to hang out with your friends 3 to 4 times a week. If you choose to get married, hang out with your friends twice a month. Story 24. I don't. It has nothing to do with being married. It is not a married versus single issue. I seldom hung out with only male friends when I was single either. Maybe an occasional gathering with several people, usually couples. Now, I attend the same gatherings with my wife. Story 25. My best friends live in different towns. I see them 4 to 8 times a year. Some are just me, and some are with my wife and child along with their partners. We all live quite different lives, but I wish I saw them more. Story 26. I have a friend who we see each week when we are in town. I have a group of friends who meet monthly to have a high cholesterol meal and watch a movie involving explosions, helicopters, motorcycles, and attractive women. I have another friend with whom I snowboard once or twice a week in the winter, except when one of us is in a warm part of the planet. We mountain bike in the warmer months. I also have a friend with whom I go to a great Mexican restaurant when I am free. I have lunch with one or the other of my sons every 1 or 2 weeks. I also have Sunday brunch with my immediate family. Story 27. I absolutely need that for my sanity. I push for every other Thursday to have a night out once the children are asleep. It does not always work out that way, but that is my goal and I am mentally committed to it. Even if my wife gets upset about it, she will be okay. As long as I am not doing anything that would compromise our marriage. Story 28. What does normal have to do with it? It is what you both want to be acceptable within your marriage that counts. Story 29. I had my fun with my friends. Now, any free time I have, I want to spend it with my wife and kids. That being said, I usually meet my friend at the bar once a month. During football season, we go to about 5 games. Story 30. Every second night, we join a Discord server to simultaneously watch old or live fights, play Escape from Tarkov, and catch up in general. Story 31. A few times a year, I am 40. Kids and families take priority in the end. We speak weekly or sometimes monthly, but trying to find a date when everyone is free is difficult. Maybe I can squeeze in a couple of rounds of golf or one night out, but some friends just become memories. They simply fade away. Story 32. Jay, me, and the boys get together a few times a year, maybe. All my good friends except one have moved out of state, and my wife is good friends with his wife, so it is always the four of us. Usually, the kids are there too. Their three children are each about a year younger than each of our three. You know how that goes. Story 33. Before having children, I probably averaged once per week. After having children, I have new friends who have kids the same age as my children. Story 34. I'm in my late 30s, married, with no children. Including virtual hangouts, I have game nights or Dungeons and Dragons with my friends at least once a week, sometimes twice. Most of my close friends live in different cities now. If we only count in-person hangouts, I still do something with local friends maybe once every week or two. Story 35. 36. We all have children. So we take 2 to 3 planned vacations a year with all the children and hang out maybe once every couple of months. We talk about hanging out every day though. Story 36. Early years of marriage. Never. Now that I am a little more mature and comfortable, I play poker every couple of months. I go to maybe one baseball game a year and maybe to the bar a couple of times a month after the kids and wife go to bed. Just to hang out, I do not really drink. Story 37. My buddies and I play on a men's softball team once a week except in the winter. So probably once a week for 8 months. There is no normal or not normal when it comes to these things. If you're okay with it and your husband is not shirking any duties, then once a week out with his friends is perfectly fine. My wife plays tennis and goes to book club once a week, so she's out twice a week, sometimes squeezing in a dinner with friends too. Our kids are older now and don't need nearly as much oversight as they once did, which makes going out much easier. Story 38. Personally, once a week at most. We are all busy with work and children. However, we usually get together most weekends, often with the children and sometimes with the spouses. Story 39. Not married myself, but most of my friends are, and we hang out online at least 2 days a week. When I was playing video games with my married friends regularly in real life, we would talk about 6 nights a week. In terms of seeing them in real life, though, that is about once every few months. Story 40, 50 billion times, but it is mostly because we all moved away from each other. I have not bothered making new ones because I am 35 and my life is basically already over. I also do not drink or like things. Story 41. Per week, I see one of my friends in person maybe twice a month, but both of us have young children. I have a newborn and a 2-year-old, and he has a 4 and 6-year-old, so we are in autopilot a bit. I do, however, play games online with him several times per week and text with him daily. To me, this is a decent way of maintaining my friendships, though not ideal. My other close friend lives across the country. My wife and I have a couple of friends that I enjoy seeing, and we see them once or twice a month, sometimes more. Story 42. It depends. Sometimes multiple times a week, sometimes not for a month or more. It just depends on schedules and times of the year. Story 43. My high school best friend came to my grandmother's funeral a month ago. Before that, I had not seen any of my friends in person since I got married in 2020. Story 44. I live 150 miles away from my childhood friends. I get to spend a weekend with them probably twice a year. All of us and our spouses usually get an Airbnb at the beach or go to a concert or something similar. I have a couple of former coworkers who have since become good friends. I get to hang out with them probably once every other month. It is usually me and my wife hanging out with my friend and his wife, so not really a boys' hangout. Occasionally, when one of the wives is out of town, one of us may come over to drink whiskey and watch a war movie, maybe twice a year. Story 45. 0 on an average week. If I see my one close friend I still have from high school once a year, I'm doing all right. Story 46. About the same as before. I really have only one friend, and on some weekends we will play Halo Master Chief Collection or something similar. Story 47. All my friends live far away, from a couple of hours to halfway around the world. The closest person would be my brother-in-law, but we don't hang out much. I see him almost every day, though. We have 3 kids, 2 of whom are under 5. My wife has been in school for the last 4 years, so in addition to my full-time job, I have been the primary caregiver, cooking, cleaning, handling drop-offs and pickups, sick days, and more, so she could focus on getting into a highly competitive program. She got in on the first try, and they only accept 12 students a year. I am very proud of the hard work she put in to get here. She will be done next year. I don't really have time to make friends who live closer. Story 48. I'm a new dad to a 15-month-old baby girl. I'm her primary caretaker. My fiancée goes out with her friends once a week. So far, she has had 30 hours of free time away from home in May. I haven't seen my friends in half a year. I don't get to play video games anymore. Am I in an abusive relationship? I just keep enduring it, hoping it will get better. She even scheduled a half day of gaming for me today. I only got an hour and a half before she gave me attitude about how hard it is to watch the baby alone. I'm running out of energy, but I keep telling myself it will get better, and that my baby needs us to stay together. Story 49. 40. Hang out? Once a year if I am lucky. I have not seen my best friend in years, but he did respond to a party I am throwing in September. He might show up, but he will more than likely back out. Story 50. Most of my friends are women, and none are local. When I see them, it is usually for at least a long weekend to make the 5 to 10 hours of driving worth it. Story 51. A week? Almost never. Maybe 4 times a year at most. There is too much going on with family and children. I would love for it to be more. Story 52. Does sports count? I play in a men's baseball league every Monday night from March through August. I also play poker once a month. Married 36 years and firmly believe guys' night out is biologically necessary. Your mileage may vary. Story 53. 38 men exclusively, maybe once a month for a casual poker home game. We socialize more as a couple with other couples. The women are more likely to have girls' night than the men are to have their own. Story 54. My husband does it maybe once every 6 months. He prioritizes his free time with family, though. It's not like he's not allowed to. When he does, they just have a guy's day, which involves a large dinner and some sort of fun activity. Story 55. Never. I own my own business, am married, and have 2 children, ages 4 and 7. I sometimes wish I had friends to do things like that, but my father is the same way. Story 56. I see my friends once every month to hang out. My focus is my family and what we do together, especially with younger children. Story 57. I go to the gym 4 days a week, and that is where I spend most of my time with friends. My wife and I have many mutual friends, and we hang out with them once or twice a week. We are in our late 30s and do not have children. Story 58. I have a band meetup once a week. If my friends want to do something afterward or the following day, I am usually available. So 1 to 2 times a week. Story 59. I play disc golf every Friday with 2 friends. I recently have been playing video games with a group of men on Wednesdays. Both days and times my wife is at rehearsal or class. About once a month, I see a few other men on a weekend night or hang out with a single friend to grab food. I am 38. Story 60. I run a Dungeons and Dragons game twice a month. My wife plays too. I train Muay Thai with a couple of experienced kickboxers once a week. Story 61. It depends on what you consider hanging out. I have one group of friends where we play video games on Mondays and Dungeons and Dragons every other Sunday. Then another group where we play Dungeons and Dragons on Thursdays and try to have some kind of meetup once a month. I also play recreational soccer on Tuesdays, and we go for a beer afterward, but I hesitate to call those guys my friends. Now, as I get older and have children, I would certainly scale this back. The monthly hangout and some form of weekly athletics are non-negotiable, but everything else I can see dropping off as priorities demand. Story 62. 29. Kid on the way. I hang out with my best friend maybe once every 2 weeks. Other friends probably once a quarter. Story 63. How bold of you to suggest it is a matter of days over 1 week when it is more like days over a month or two. Story 64. Maybe once or twice a month. I would probably do more, but they already meet for an activity that I am not very interested in. Story 65. We all have children the same age and live close by. We get together with each family about once every 2 weeks. It keeps the children entertained and provides a social opportunity. Story 66. About once every 3 months, we try to grab dinner or drinks and hang out. Other than that, we do a guys' trip and golf weekend once a year in September, where we take a long weekend to hang out, play golf, watch football, and drink beer. Outside of that, we are all very busy with family, kids, work, aging parents, and so on. Story 67. I play games with 2 friends every Monday online, if that counts. In person, probably once a month. 30-year-old married male. Story 68. I have only seen my one friend about 3 to 4 times a week, and that is partly because my project car is in his driveway. I have not seen my second friend or his fiancée since before Christmas. I have only seen my third friend twice in the last 3 or 4 months, mainly because our wives are also friends. Life is busy, and when you do not live close to anyone, it is hard to find enough time to make the trip. Story 69. None. All my friends caught hooped after they found a girlfriend, though I hung out with them when they bugged me about it. Now, I run with a different and much better crowd of people. Story 70. My workmates are my male friends. Besides that, I have one friend who has a son close to my son's age, so we spend time together sometimes, mostly for the kids. Story 71. Never. I do not have any male friends. I have one friend on Xbox. I would much rather hang out with my wife. Going out for a movie, dinner, and dancing is quite enjoyable when I go with my wife. Story 72. I do not separate my friends into male and female. I hang out with my friends of any and all genders twice a week. Depending on who is available, there are generally 8 to 12 of us hanging out, some men, some women, and we have recently welcomed a non-binary friend. I am 50 years old. Story 73. I don't. I prefer to hang out as couples. Honestly, I don't love hanging out with just men. I never really have. I love the company of women for hangouts. I also genuinely love the company of my wife. I would rather we all hang out together. Story 74. Once a week I meet my brothers. These are men from my Bible study group. We discuss life, the gospel, and how to be the best men we can be. I also run a similar men's group in a nearby prison once a week. I go with my son to his weekly Boy Scouts of America meeting. I am friends with some of the other adults. Most weeks I spend 3 evenings largely or partly out of the house with friends. Once a month, I typically go camping with the troop. Edit. Reading the comments, please find a friend group. I don't care what it is. Being without male companionship is not good for your health. You were created for fellowship. Find men you can hang with and lead or learn from. Is good. Story 75. This thread is actually really depressing. I do not want to get married because I do not want to live this life, but my friends are slowly all getting married. Story 76. Hard-hitting question. Almost like a real interview question where you do not really know what to say besides be honest, and then they ghost you and you think you should have gone with a lie. So honest, once a week. Story 77. Maybe once or twice a month. Not often, but just enough. Any more than that, and honestly, they would probably get on my nerves. Story 78. I am 35 years old. Maybe once a week in person if we can coordinate our schedules. More likely, I will try to play video games with friends who live in other cities 2 to 3 times a week if possible. Story 79. I saw friends maybe once a week after I was married before children. After children, I text a couple of friends somewhat regularly, and I see one of them once every couple of months at most. Story 80. 3 or 4 days a week. Golf mostly, but also just hanging out. Been married 13 years. Brother time is necessary. Granted, most of us do not have children. Story 81. 2 friends and I have been having an online movie night every Monday since the pandemic. Our group has been gaming in person every Tuesday for the past 15 years. Story 82. I have been very busy lately, so I have not seen many people. However, I usually see my hockey friends on Tuesday and sometimes on Sunday. I also see my main group of friends every other Saturday. Additionally, I often play online games with friends on Wednesdays. Story 83. We have tried to establish a standing meeting one night a week. I estimate we follow through about half the time, so maybe 2 to 3 times a month. Story 84. In my opinion, maybe 2 at most. I was not married but lived with someone for 6 years. If he saw anyone more than twice a week, I would be suspicious. Story 85. Maybe 4 times a year. If we all lived a bit closer, maybe more often, but that is kind of life most of the time after everyone is working or has a family. Story 86. Every single night. However, in reality, it is once a month. The rest of the time, I am spending time with my side girlfriends. She thinks I am hanging out with my male friends. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.